For the fifth test between Australia and India in Sydney. I'm your host, Tim Williams. What a blockbuster series it's been. It all culminates, it all finishes at the Sydney Cricket Ground, a famous venue in world cricket. Here to talk through today with me and pick a few Dream11 winners while we're here. My guest and regular member of the Playbook 11 team, 32 Test and 42 ODI veteran for the Black Caps, former New Zealand international turned superstar commentator, Simon Doull. Dooley, how are you, mate?
Tim, very good to see you, mate. Yeah, very. Pleased to say I haven't, like the Indian batting order, collapsed yet. I'm all good. I've recovered from last week. Voice is a little bit better. Hair's starting to grow. Things are looking on the up, mate.
Mate, you won a golf competition this morning. You're on a boat for New Year's. Hair's coming back, mate. Life's good, Dooley.
Life is only on the improve, Timmy. I can tell you that much. Let's hope it's on the improve for our Dream11 punters as well.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. We're going to find a few winners for this contest, I reckon. And yes, so if you are new to the Playbook 11 podcast, please do us a favour and subscribe to our YouTube channel. But what are we here to do? If it is your first time listening in and checking us out, we're here to provide Dream11 advice from Australian soil with our local knowledge. We know the players, we know the venues, the local conditions. We're going to transfer that knowledge into Dream11 contest to help select your teams. We've covered the whole Australia v India test series. We started off in our first Big Bash video a couple of days ago, which went gangbusters, which is very exciting. We'll continue to do that through the Big Bash, the Australian Sri Lanka series, upcoming one days, all sorts of things going on. We've got the Champions Trophy. We'll be covering that, the IPL. So guys, subscribe to our channel because we're here to stay, and do us a favour there if you're enjoying the content. And of course, follow us on our social media channels as well. Playbook 11 on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're all over the place. Dooley, let's get into the good stuff, and that is the predicted teams for the Australia v India Test Series. We'll start with the Australian team, and just the one, I wouldn't call it a small change, I wouldn't call it a big change, I'd just call it a change. Beau Webster comes in for his Test debut in for Mitchell Marsh, the reigning Allan Border medal winner. A big decision. Not getting a lot of overs out of Mitchell Marsh, obviously conscious of that. Always has a few niggles with him. So Beau Webster comes in and debuts. He'll bat down the order, of course, and I think he'll be pretty prevalent with the ball. He's a really good bowler. They'll get more overs out of him than they will Mitchell Marsh. He's a player, to be honest, that he has a very conducive game to Dream11 scoring with that all-rounder role. He's also outstanding in the field, Beau Webster. So one to have a look at who'll be at very low.
I think you look at his numbers over the last couple of years.
He's
Sorry,
brilliant,
mate. Look at his numbers over the last couple of years with the bat in particular. He's been brilliant. He's averaging in excess of 50-odd in domestic cricket in Australia. What did he take? 70-odd wickets in the last season and a half. So he's flying along, and I think it's a great selection. Probably you'd say a bold selection because of Mitch Marsh's status in the side, but when you got guys out of form and you got county players, domestic players in form, then get them in and get them in at the right time. And I think it's the right time for them.
For one of the biggest test matches in a number of years for Australia, it's a huge decision by the Australian selectors and George Bailey. So, look, we'll see how it pans out, and only time will tell. But as you said, Dooley, he's forming the Sheffield Shield recently and all white ball cricket as well. On top of that, he's been knocking the door down for selection, and he's got it. So good on him and good luck to him. And the other one to keep an eye out for, Mitchell Starc had a niggle coming into this as well. So he's expected to be fine to go and fit to play. But just if you are looking at putting him in your team, just keep an eye, of course, as you would be anyway, on the final teams to make sure. Now, Dooley, I'm just going to throw the Indian team to you because, mate, we don't know. They could throw anything. We have some ideas, and one of the big selection gambles, there's a bit of word around that their captain Rohit Sharma might get dropped for this. How do you see the team playing out for this test?
Yeah, look, it's huge. I mean, normally the captain, the coach will turn up to the press conference prior to the test match. It wasn't the captain, Rohit Sharma. And one thing I will say about Rohit Sharma, he has never, ever shied away from his duties. He's always been team first. I think he's been one of the most selfless leaders in the last little while, particularly in the shorter format of the game. If he feels that his game is not up to it, and he feels he should not play, then he will be one of the first ones to say that. I admire Rohit Sharma as a cricketer and as a person. I think that's one of the sort of guys he is. So, look, if he doesn't turn up, I think it'll be his decision. I don't think it'll be the team saying we think you should move on. I think it'll be his decision. It'll be based around the team. If he doesn't, the likelihood of KL Rahul moving to the top and bringing Shubman Gill back to number 3 is the possible one, or do
Mm,
they throw a bit of a curveball and play young Abhimanyu Eswarian, opening batter, genuine opening batter? Do they give him an opportunity? Possibly a bit late in the series to say we're
mm,
going to throw it out there and play Aswarian at the top of the order and give him a chance. So I think the most likely scenario would be Rahul to the top again and Shubman Gill popping back into that number 3 spot. Outside of that, I don't see them changing too much. Sydney, it doesn't offer the turn that it has offered. If you're going back 8, 10, 12,
mm,
15 years, it's usually a pretty good wicket. We do have a lot of weather in and around Sydney at different times, although the first 3 to 4 days looks pretty good. So I
mm.
don't see them changing too much. Akashdeep, I thought, was unlucky. I think he bowled better than the rewards that he got. Obviously, Bumrah, Siraj, and they keep Washington as a right arm off spin option because he can certainly bat, and Jadeja as well. So the only change I see if they do make it, and if the hard call is made on Rohit Sharma, is at the top of the order.
Huge decision to be made there. And you mentioned the weather in Sydney at this time of year. It's hot, it's humid, we get storms, we do tend to get a fair bit of rain, and results in test matches at the Sydney Cricket Ground for the New Year's test, they reflect that, because last year, Australia versus Pakistan, Australia won that test. Pakistan with 313 runs in the first innings and 115 in the second innings. Australia made 299 in their first stint, went on to win the test. The year before, it was a drawn test match, Australia versus South Africa. Australia in the first innings, 4 for 475 declared. South Africa were 255. And then in their second innings, they were 2 for 106. Obviously, rain impacted. Australia versus England, the Ashes the year before. Australia, 8 for 416 declared. England, 294, a drawn test match. 6 draws in their last 10 matches in Sydney. So one to monitor, as you mentioned earlier, there's a bit of rain around. It does look to be coming in the back end of the test match, though. So early on, we should be all clear. I'll be at the test match tomorrow. If you're sitting in there and you're watching this, the test might be just about to start. I'll be in the stands ready to go, flying the Australian flag. So very, very exciting times, mate. And the stats that matter. Before we pick our Dream 11 team, a few stats to touch on. Firstly, around the Australians, Usman Khawaja averages 104 runs from his 12 innings at the Sydney Cricket Ground. He is, of course, local. It's his home ground, the Sydney Cricket Ground. 4 centuries to his name there. Marnus Labuschagne averages 81.55 from his 10 innings. Steve Smith, a 70.6 average from his 17 innings. Outstanding records there, unsurprisingly. Also the home test match, of course, for Steve Smith. Nathan Lyon, 48 wickets at the SCG, the 4th most of all time. But do note, he has an average of 39.62. So it's not as if he's necessarily had tremendous results. He's just bowled a lot there. Pat Cummins, surprise, surprise, he has an average of 22.67, but he has that everywhere in the world. So it's kind of like we don't need to talk about him too much. Mitchell Starc is the other one, though. He has an average of 44.16. So not a lot of success in his home test as a Sydney boy. Onto the Indians, and not so much Australian condition specific, but onto that man Rohit Sharma. Whether he plays or not, we're not sure. But he now has the most single-digit scores in a test season for a top 7 batter, with 10 in his 15 innings this year, or last year, I should say. Virat Kohli is actually second with 9 single-digit dismissals in that 2024 and obviously now into 2025. He has, Rohit Sharma, the lowest batting average by a touring captain in a test series in Australia for a minimum of 5 innings with 6.2. So put it this way, if he does get named and plays and you pick him in your team, he'll be very low ownership and selection. So it'll be bold, but who knows? One last hurrah, perhaps, for Rohit Sharma. Now, Dooley, let's get into our team selection. And we'll start at the wicketkeeper slot as usual. We've got Rahul at 51.6% selection at 8.5 crore. Rishabh Pant at 75.34 selection at 8 crore. Alex Carey at 43.65 selection at 7.5 crore. Who do we like at the wicketkeeper slot? We've obviously gone pretty heavily on Rishabh Pant across the series. Do we stick with him? What do you feel?
Well, I think after the last couple of innings, when you've seen him, I know that Indian selectors and captain are saying the right thing. They're just allowing him to play his game, but he's been a little bit reckless for my liking,
A little.
particularly with the bat. Maybe overly reckless. And so you look at it from a different point of view now, and you think, is he a lock? We had him as a lock. He's been a lock in every side we've had so far. I don't know. I can leave him on the sideline and wait till the end of the selection process at this stage, because I think I'd rather go with Alex Carey at this stage, and I'd be considering Rahul if he's going to open the batting. Get a good opportunity. If he moves to the top, he might get a good opportunity to open the batting. I'd consider him almost ahead of Punt in the early selection process, but I think we could lock Alex Carey in. Again, if Lyon bowls well, although his record's not great, if it does start to turn a little bit, he's going to get opportunities for stumpings and catches, and the seamers are generally going to do a pretty good job for Australia as well. So the catches again for Alex Carey, I think would put him just ahead of the other two for me. So Carey a lock, KL a maybe, and Rishabh will leave till the end if we need him.
Yeah. All right, mate. Let's go, Carey. We'll leave KL out and Punt for the moment. As you mentioned, sort of last test when we were picking our selection, our team and our wicket keepers, with Punt, it's the class of Boomer in particular, so many catches behind the stump.
Yeah.
And that helps big time, obviously, with Dream11 scoring. But let's leave him out for now, and let's move on to our batters. And you spoke about reckless Sam Constas. 8.78%, reverse ramping Jasper Bumrah, the best bowler in the world in his first couple of overs. It was one of the most remarkable sessions and innings I've ever seen in Test cricket. Found out in the second innings he has a bit of trouble with that in-swinging ball at the moment, but what a debut from Sammy Constas. He's at 8.78% selection, so people aren't exactly flocking to him at 6.5 crore, but we go back to the top of that list. Steve Smith, he's at 80% selection after back-to-back centuries at 9 crore. He's found his eye again. He's back in touch. Travis Head at 81.9%. He's at 9 crore off the back of a rare underperforming test match. Jaiswal at 88.44%. He was tremendous in Melbourne in the Boxing Day test, 8.5 crore. Marnus Labuschagne finding a bit of form as well, 50.81% at 8 crore. Virat Kohli struggling for form, 29% at 7.5 crore. Usman Khawaja, 16%, also battling, but found a bit of form in the Boxing Day test at 7.5 crore. Shubman Gill at 3.4%. As you said, didn't play last game, but he's in the frame. He's at 7.5 crore if he can sneak in. Rohit Sharma, 12% selection at 7 crore. This is for the mega contest this week. I mentioned Sammy Constas. And then Iswaran, if he does get selected, he's at 0.15% at 6 crore. So the point of difference to end all of point of differences. And Patagal, he's at 0.2%, probably a bit more unlikely, but always in the frame as well at 6 crore. Mate, who do we like on the batting lineup?
Well, straight away, two lefties stand out to me, and they might be, they're not high numbers, which I like about it. You talked about Khawaja growing a leg at the SCG. I think he just started to find a little bit of something in Melbourne. Going back home, going back to the SCG, a place where he's had enormous success. I really like him. I really like him as a low selection option, but a bloke who just loves the ground. His numbers there are phenomenal. And you know what it's like when we look at these things, you look at numbers, and when you walk into a dressing room and you sit down in a place as a player that you feel so comfortable, out onto a ground where you feel comfortable, sometimes that's just enough. And I really like Usman Khawaja at low numbers, and Jaiswal. He just looks so good. He looks so good in Melbourne again after that big 100 in Perth and the early in the tour. I think he's probably worth another crack going back to Jaiswal, and I love Khawaja. So that'd be the first two that I would sort of look at as locking them in. You got one at a high number. A lot of people are going with Jaiswal. I think if he has success, yes, you're with the pack there, but you kind of got the opposite with Khawaja. You got a low number of selections, but I think he's got the game.
Yeah, I like those selections, and I agree with Khawaja. Back-to-back centuries there a couple of years back as well in the Sydney Cricket Ground. He loves the venue, as the numbers reflected, averaging over 100 there. Jaiswal as well. I love the way that the battle Jaiswal's had with the Australian attack this series. Started off with that breathtaking 160 runs. Then he went through a bit of a mellow period. It's like the bowlers found a few weaknesses in him. He's such a class player that he's bounced back. Should have had more centuries, but a run out, of course, in Boxing Day, a massive, massive moment in that game. And then I'll throw to you, Dooley. We'll get off Dream11 for a second, but the dismissal off the glove. Was it out or not out, mate?
It was one of those ones, and you know, you look at these things from a playing point of view, and fans look at it from sometimes from a fanatical point of view. It just looked out. It looked like it
It
was
was
out to
out.
me, and I can't sit on the fence and say I'm not sure. To me, as a player, as a guy who's sat in commentary boxes for years and years and years now, it looked like it was out.
Yeah, for those
Sorry, Indian
listening,
fans. Sorry,
yeah,
Dream11 folk.
yeah. For those listening on Apple and Spotify, umpire Simon Doull raised the finger. He was out. He was absolutely out. And you know what? Get in the YouTube comments. If you're an Indian viewer and you disagree with us, let us know why. Tell us why Snicko didn't tell us, didn't give us any indicator. But I'm with you, mate. The eye said you could clearly see the deflection. So I said, if we're wrong, let us have it in the comments. We want to know about it. Let's lock in Jaiswal. Let's lock in Khawaja. Mate, I think we lock in Travis Head. He's at 81% selection. He's been arguably the best player this series, certainly the best batsman in my eyes. He has one bad test match when players are getting runs around him.
Mm,
And not that 81% isn't highly selection, but he's been well over 90% throughout the whole series. So also bowling a little bit, snared a key wicket in that as well. So I think we get Travis Head in. Steve Smith at 80%. It's funny how these work. I'm not as confident. I know it's his home venue. I know he's back in form, but he's been around that 50% or even less mark throughout the
mm,
series. And now that, rightly so, he's scored some runs, people are back to him, but there's still been issues. There's still the Jasprit Bumrah factor. I'm happy to go against Smith and probably the rest of the batsmen for the time being.
mm.
The only other one would be, and mate, I'm leaving this 100% to you again because I can't let Australian bias take over here. And this is why it's good we have a New Zealander on the panel for the show, Sam Constas. I just want to do it because I'm going to be there. I hope we're batting first. I want to see him hit a century. Can we put him in or is it too reckless?
I've I've never met a biased Australian, Tim. I don't know
No.
what you're on about, mate. Just, I mean, that's blown me away.
I know.
Um, Look, I know you were quite keen to select him in the Melbourne Test because you were looking at the numbers and thinking, oh, I wouldn't mind having. Is he talented? Hell yeah, he's talented. I mean, and I loved watching him bat. And he's a sort of kid to me that will work it out. He'll work it out as time goes on. He's got the ability to do it. I'm happy to leave him as our first reserve for now
Okay.
if we can't find enough. We'll push punt down to number 2 reserve, but I'm
All right.
happy to leave Sammy Constas. If we can only come up with 10, you get Constas as the 11th man. All right, I'm going to give you that for now.
All right. I'm just going to go against everything you say so that we keep a spot for him. But he's out for the time being. Mate, we move on to the all-rounders. Jadeja, who we've selected most of the tests that he's been available, maybe not the first one, and the first one that he played, but he's been pretty good for us, I think. So Jadeja at 68.2%, 7.5 Craw. Reddy is at 90%. He's been fantastic this series. Reddy at 7.5 Craw. Mitch Marsh, he's obviously out of this one. He's currently selected by 17%. If you're in that 17% and you're watching on or you're listening, get rid of Mitch Marsh. He's not playing. Beau Webster at 2.86% at 7 Craw. He's going to have a big role in this match, whether you like it or not. Washington Sundar at 20.24% at 7 Craw. Dooley, who do you like here?
I like 3. I like both the Indian spin bowling all
Mm,
rounders, and I like Beau Webster.
mm.
I mean, you've got batting with Washington Sundar. He's shown that he's more than capable and better than just an all rounder who can bat. He's actually a very very good batter. I think he provides runs. If it does turn a little bit more in Sydney, he'll be more of an option with the Aussie left-handers. In fact, so I have no option, no problem picking both Jadeja and Washington Sundar and Beau Webster because I agree. I think Beau Webster's going to have a big role to play in this Test match. He's going to bowl a lot more than Mitchell Marsh, and coming in later down the order. The other thing about batting in the position where he tends to bat is he sees that second new ball a lot.
Mm.
He's actually pretty good against that second new ball,
Yeah.
and it can tend to fly off the bat, and you can pick up runs. So I wouldn't mind selecting all 3, mate. I'm not sure how you feel about those 3.
Bang, bang, bang. They're all in, Dooley. And I agree. I like the Beau Webster play because of course you need a strong performance. You need him to perform, but he's coming in red hot form in domestic cricket. And he's just got the role. He's going to get plenty of time at the crease. Well, he should. He'll be should be getting plenty of time at the crease with the bat. He's going to bowl a lot of overs. He's very talented, and it's one of them things where if they've got Pat Cummins and Mitch Starc threatening, and all that pressure, and then they have Nathan Lyon tying an end down. Beau Webster comes in. They might try and go after him, the debutant. They might get aggressive, and that's where he could pick up some cheap wickets. As I said, he's a very talented fieldsman, and I add in as well that looking at the 2.86%, Dream11, it's an Indian game. It's Indian players and one Australian and one Kiwi. And they're not going to know too much about Beau Webster and what he's been doing. So, mate, I'm happy to get Beau Webster in there. So we'll lock in those three all-rounders, Washington, Sundar, Jadeja and Webster. Onto the bowlers, Pat Cummins at 92.89%, Jasper Pummer at 97.35%. Mate, do we just lock them straight in? Do we even have to have the conversation or what?
100%. We don't even need to talk about that. They have been locks from test 1 to test 5. We do not have to worry about those two. They're in.
Yeah, smart play. Mitchell Starc, 73.21% selection at 8.5 crore. Nathan Lyon at 22.45% at 8.5 crore. Disappointing Nathan Lyon this series by his standards. Granted, not necessarily his fault at times, just conditions haven't necessarily been to suit and the quick bowlers have been so effective. But not the results we've seen in the past from Nathan Lyon. Mohammad Siraj at 31.08% at 7.5 crore. Scotty Boland, 32.45% at 7 crore. Moving down, it just depends who's going to get selected, but no one else really there that's probably going to play in this test match. But who do you like, Dooley? We've got 2 more spots to fill.
Well, we're probably, and if I'm going to leave a spot for Sammy Constas, I liked your numbers around Stark. His record at the SCG hasn't been that good. I worry a little bit about that side strain. I mean, from a bowling point of view, knowing bowling, these things, the intercostals, they are the worst things you can possibly do from a bowling point of view. So, Akash Deep, I think he's bowled well in the series without success. Do you like him or Lyon? Would you rather go Lyon? Do you think Lyon's got a test match in him at the SCG? I mean, he was really good with the bat. Don't let it be underestimated how much his batting helped Australia win that test match in Melbourne. Does he take some confidence out of that and bring it in with the ball? You think about the left-handers that we've selected, what India are going to have from a left-hander point of view through that middle in Punt, Jadeja, Washington, Sundar. Does he come into play a little bit more at the SCG? Is he just starting to get a bit of rhythm back? I mean, I'm gonna throw to you on that one. Akash Deep or Nathan Lyon?
I think Nathan Lyon, mate. And again, I'm just going to flag the disclaimer of Aussie bias, but the Australians are coming in as favourites into this. We know Nathan Lyon's record, though, as I said, it's a 39 average, but I think what to say, fourth highest wicket taker of all time there. It hasn't been as spin friendly as it has been in the past in recent years, but the Sydney Cricket Ground, traditionally, it is a spin friendly deck. So I like it for him, and I can't see, Dooley, Nathan Lyon finishing this series without having had a bit more of an impact. And I just feel that, and I know this caught us out a little bit in that first test match with the upset from India, but if Australia do win this and we're a little bit convincing with it, since that first test, we've been pretty dominant at times. I'm concerned about getting deep in and how many wickets they're going to take. If there's a bit of rain around and that as well. So, I prefer the Nathan Lyon play. So I'm happy to throw Lyon in. But we do have room for one more bowler. So we've gone Cummins and Lyon from the Australian contingent. We've got Beau Webster there as well. We've got Jadeja and Sundar from India along with Bumrah. So we can throw one more in. So I think I would like...
Do we stick with Scotty Boland?
Yes, I think so.
After what he did at the G, I mean, just good, solid Scotty Boland-like performance, wasn't it? It's kind of just what you want. He's just a genuinely good, wholehearted cricketer.
So reliable, and that's the other thing. And it's probably a reflection of the Beau Webster selection. If there is there is doubt over Mitchell Starc and his fitness.
Yeah.
If he's got the side strain, whatever it might be, there's going to be... They've probably gone, if he does go down, we need someone who can bowl a lot of overs. And that's Beau Webster. That's not Mitchell Marsh. So, if from a Dream11 perspective, I hope it doesn't happen from an Australian cricket perspective, but from a Dream11 perspective, I think it makes sense. If he goes down injured, all those who selected him, 73% or whatever it was, they're going to be in trouble. So let's lock him in. Mate, now for the captaincy decision. Let's see the popular ones for this test. Travis Head, he's dropped down a fair bit, 15% captain, 10% vice captain. It's going to be the big two, as always. Jasper Brummer at 36.38% captain, 18.4% vice captain. We had him in as our captain last test, and he wasn't that high ownership captain. He was about 25%, and he delivered as he always does. And our vice captain was Pat Cummins. He was tremendous for us with both bat and ball. So Cummins is at 8.58% captain and 23.25% vice captain. Who do we like, Dooley?
Oh, it's just so hard to go away from those two. Unless we want to throw a Hail Mary and pick someone completely different. I think Bumrah's a lock at either vice or captain, either. And if you want to throw a Hail Mary out and take someone slightly different, do you want to put Travis Head in there? Do you want to try, someone different? I find it hard to go away from those two guys. They've just been so good throughout the series. Have you got any thoughts? I want Bumrah in there as one of them. I mean, if you've got a sort of an off the wall theory on someone else, I don't know.
It's boring, mate. It's vanilla, but I'm with you. And the fact is that you sit there and go, Bumrah, 36 captain, 18 vice captain. That means that 66% of people out there don't have any captaincy on Jasper Brummer. I like that for a player of his quality.
Yeah.
Pat Cummins, he's at 31% between vice captain and captain. That means 69% don't have it on him.
Yeah.
So, there's differential there. And on top of that, mate, the way we've picked our team, we have some pretty low selected players there. So we don't need to go differential. So, mate, I'm happy to lock them in.
The double up on both.
The question is which way? Who gets captain? Who gets vice captain?
Oh, Bumrah. Is he going to finish? I was worried a little bit on the amount of spells and the amount of bowling he's done in the series. It's been on him a lot. I'm going to go Pat captain, and Bumrah VC.
Captain Pat, Bumrah VC, locked and loaded. All right, mate. That'll just about do us. Let's have a look. Let's get our team up. We'll read that one out. Where did I find this? Where are my entries here? My team. Here we are. All right. So we've got Carey in the wicketkeeper slot. We've got Khawaja, Head, Jaiswal, Jadeja, Webster, and Sundar. And then in the bowling attack, we have Lyon, Cummins, Bumrah, and Boland. Bumrah is our vice captain, and Captain Pat is our skipper for this contest. I feel good about it, Dooley. I feel very good about this one.
And Sam Constas is 12th man again. I'm sorry, Sammy. I'm sorry. I wish you all the best, young man. But you just haven't made it to the 11 again.
I'm selecting my backup now, and Sammy Constas. He's the number one backup. If anyone goes down, Sammy Constas is in. Hey, Dooley, that'll do us for the fifth and final test. It's been very enjoyable previewing each test with you, mate, and we'll be back for more in the new year, or in the new year now, but we'll be covering some Big Bash, as I said, the Champions Trophy, Australia versus Sri Lanka, the Indian fixtures to come up as well. So, mate, plenty more to come. So, guys, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel if you are enjoying the content and support us there. Dooley, thank you, mate.
Cheers, mate. Good luck to everyone, and hope the test goes well.
Cheers, guys. Up the Aussies.